Hey everybody, Steven here, and for this video, doing an update to the office space. I've mentioned I've moved into a new house. I have my own office, which is great, but the walls are brown. Not a huge fan of that. I'm in my painting gear, which is why I'm just wearing a tank top right now, because I'm painting all of the walls white outside of this back one right here. And so I'm going to actually overlay video just kind of looking at this space and what it currently looks like. After that, replace this fan with the lights to just a fan, and then we're going to get LED can lights in here. In the corner on the wall where my PC is at, we're going to put IKEA shelving units in the corners, and then we're going to put 3D wall paneling behind the screen here like at the old house. I'll put an LED light strip around that so it should glow, which is my hope. And then the wall where the PC is at right now, that's actually going to be gray. That won't be white. So everything will be white outside of that one wall. But this is going to take a while. So I'm going to actually just cut a bunch of video together that I take as I get small sections done. And hopefully it doesn't take too long, but this will be the first step towards getting everything done. Because after this comes the shelving units, then the 3D panels, then the LED lights, and hopefully the can lights somewhere in between all of that. We'll see. But it should look really good once this is done. But this is just kind of part one of a multi-part series as I get this office looking the way I want it to look. It's just going to take some time, so I'm trying to be patient with that. But let's cut to some kind of progress video of at least this getting painted. Alright, so the first stage is done. I got the painting done. That took, what, 3 days? I mean, I was putting in some hours on this just because the white, you had to do multiple layers on this to actually get it white because of that brown. It was just so prominent. Next is hanging up the wood. I'm going to frame out this kind of box, and then that's what the 3D paneling will go on, like I mentioned. I got my RGB light strips in. So this, I think I'm kind of out of my element. I think I have to ask my client to help me. Now I have the wood cut. I'll make sure that kind of pops up, showcasing me cutting the 2x4s. Luckily the actual board itself, Lowe's cut that for me to what I need it to be. And we'll look at that here in a second. But actually framing this out and making sure that it's centered, measuring all of that out is harder than I knew it was going to be hard. So I don't want to say harder than I thought. I just know that I'm out of my element. And at this point, I'm probably going to mess it up. And based off how I want this to look, I just don't want it crooked. So I'm going to ask him to help me. I'm going to flip this camera around though so I can kind of showcase what the room looks. It's a mess now because I moved everything in, but it's a mess right now. So flip this around. So it looks really good. It's more white than I probably would like, but it echoes the color in here, which is what I want. So if I don't like it down the road, I may go like a shade that's maybe not quite as bright as this. But the curtains next, I'm trying to get those this week where I'll get gray curtains right there. Thought about getting something cool in here, and I may even do that where it's just got a flare of color to it. I don't know if I'll do that, we'll see. But I need them blackout because those are blackout. They're just brown. There's the big board right there. We've got the 2x4s on the floor. And then there's the gray wall. So I like the color of that. Definitely pops. I'm excited. And the color bounces off it just like I wanted it to. Because like I mentioned, that is satin and not eggshell. And the wall is eggshell. So it's supposed to look flat. Now, turn this off for a second. That's where it looks good. Like I said, the colors pop, and then with the 3D paneling going up, that big board right there will go behind the desk, and that will have the RGB light strip going around it on the frame with the 3D panels on top of it, and so it should illuminate that color is the hope. So trying to figure out how I'm going to do that, that's where I'm concerned. I don't want to mess that up. But it's going to be big, by the way. So it's going to be about 2 foot away from the ceiling. I guess it's a little bit closer than that because I wanted it to be a little bit higher off the floor than just 2 feet on either end. I'm going to turn this back on though because just to showcase, and hopefully this picks this up. I don't know if it will. So that white on my wall is so bright that it now makes my white poster board thing, my plastic poster board that I use for shooting content B-roll on that table, it makes it look off-white. It doesn't really pick it up well on this camera, but it actually looks off-white in person, which is crazy. Moved this over here. Just needed this out of the way because the shelving units will go in the corners right there. Excited to actually get those and then put some stuff up. So this will just kind of be out of the way now, which is nice. It also made the doors, if you look at that, that's like a cream white. It's not like a white. So makes that stand out a lot more. So maybe down the road, I'm gonna actually color that too. By the way, if this audio sounds a little bit different, I don't have my microphone attached to this like I normally do. So this is just the microphone with the camera. So it's probably not gonna sound great, but it's getting there. It's getting there slowly. So I still need to get rid of the fan, get the RGB lights in here. That'll be really, really cool when I get those in and I can do the color with that. And then it's really just it's almost gonna be like a club. It's gonna echo through this room with how white these walls are. So next portion, right? We gotta get this thing up. So hopefully my client can help me out with this. And that'll be what we'll be jumping to right now if I don't try to do it myself. But fingers crossed, he's usually game to help me. And he's an engineer, so he can do this way better than I can. So we'll jump to kind of another time lapse of me getting this next portion set up. All right, so all done here. The camera is a little bit further back than I normally would have it, just so I can get the full 3D panels in there. It kind of looks like I'm a little kid with how this is cropped out like this. But I'm so excited because this turned out exactly how I wanted this to turn out. I'm glad I contacted my client Wes. He's a mechanical engineer, and had him do this and help me, because there was a couple calculations where even he needed a minute to actually get everything set. And so the frame with the 2x4s was correct, but the actual plywood sheet was not. Luckily I had an extra one, so we were able to cut that. But if I had not had him help me, this would be crooked. It wouldn't be in the center of the room. So really excited about that. As he was getting some things lined out, I did paint around the edge of the 2x4s that way, and it's the same gray, but I wanted it to actually hopefully kind of shine that light out a little bit better than if I didn't paint it. I'm also concerned that if I had it at an angle, you kind of get a look out of it. All you would see was 2x4 in the camera here. But like I said, turned out exactly how I wanted it to, and that's usually not the case. So I think it looks phenomenal, and such a huge upgrade over the previous setup where these were just on the wall, where I actually now get to illuminate that light from the back. So the Govee light strips that I went with, they're two 25-foot ones, and so it wrapped around, and I have them spread out, but I think I ended up only cutting like maybe 2 or 3 feet off of the end, so it was a really good match with this. And then the app here that you can use is really, really good. I was surprised. I figured it'd be decent, but it's actually really good. So they have an effects lab, and this is just on the front here. Effects lab. With that, you have a timer, you have brightness, and then mode. And the mode, music, color, scene, DIY. So music, I'm actually gonna have B-roll pop up in a little bit that showcases all this from better angles. That, I'm not gonna play music, I'm gonna play video games. So you guys can actually see that it'll time to your video game as well, which is really cool. And you can actually change the sensitivity of that also. Color, that's just choosing basic colors, right? We can go through all of these. You can actually do cold and white. So if you wanted this to act more like a bulb would, right, you could do that. You could also pull up the color wheel. And so with the color wheel, you have a regular color wheel. You have one that has kind of some names on it, right? It's labeled. And then you have color palettes. And with this, you can actually kind of go through that, choose your different colors here. So a lot of options just for that. And then scenes, and this is one of my favorite things to mess with. You have natural, festival, life, emotion, and then under each of those tabs, you have a bunch of different options. So this is gonna be natural here, right? And let's say we wanna do, Aurora is really, really cool. That'll kind of cycle through some colors with this. And it actually gives you a little bit of the color palette on it, right? Lightning is very interesting. Anybody that does like the cotton clouds on the wall, this may be something where you could put that kind of lined underneath that, and it would actually give that effect. Fire, it's going to glow red slowly and yellow slowly. Forest is going to go from green to yellow. So just like I said, just a lot of different options. Then we look at festival here. Let's go Halloween. I just think that's so cool that they have that. But there you're going to find your different options for festival. So I am huge into Halloween, and so that is really cool to have that. Life, a bunch of different ones on here. Game is one of them, by the way. So under life, you're gonna see the different options that you would have for that. And then the last one is gonna be emotion. I think that's pretty interesting with this. And let's go with this one, enthusiastic. So enthusiastic, right? So you would actually find that right there. So I haven't messed much with the DIY here. I haven't messed much with the effects lab, but there's a lot of different things where you can create your own color kind of scenes, palettes, whatever you want to do with this, which is cool to see. So this was the first part, which was painting the room and then getting this up, huge chunk. Next, on the next video, I'm gonna get my IKEA shelves for the corners. I get those in Friday. I'm gonna get a Govee, it's kind of like a little spotlight. And so I'm hoping that the app ties them together. I don't know. We'll have to kind of find out once we get that in. But that'll be in the corner, and then that will emit more light here. And on the shelves, I'm going to put all the little product boxes and little figurines and stuff like that that I had on the shelves in the old video. That's actually going to line that now. And they're 6 foot tall, so I'm excited about that. And it's just going to complement this area so well. So I'll get those 2 things in for the next video, and then I'm going to have the RGB can lights put in. That will be in the next video as well. I'm very curious to see how those serve the videos with the lighting and whether or not I could actually use them. Because right now I got my soft light box here, I got my 2 newer ones right here, and I'm hoping that that will actually help a little bit with the lighting effects that I want to get in the room. Also, I want to get rid of this fan with lights right here. It's gold plated, it's really ugly. I can't make this higher or shoot the angle up because this will actually be in it, and I just don't like that. When it's just the clean fan, the ceiling is going to look bigger, one, because I won't have the light fixture there, and the fan is much shorter, obviously, than this whole thing. But because it's white, it'll blend into the ceiling better. And so I'm hoping that it makes it look bigger in here overall, and then it allows the RGB can lights to kind of illuminate the room a lot better. So after that, the next thing that I'm really excited about doing is trying different camera angles. For the old videos in the old house, I really had like this, and this is kind of where I've been putting the camera in this house, which is like this side over here, kind of coming at an angle over this way. This is dead on. I typically don't do that, but now I can potentially do that, and I can switch it this way as well. I'm actually excited to potentially shoot this way because I usually don't get to do that and get some of this stuff over in the corner here. So excited to actually change up the angles and then tweak the lighting with that also. Where can I place this to get better quality video for the products that I'm doing? And I'm thinking about, I've seen Random Frank P do it. They have like, he has actual soft box lighting on his ceiling. Maybe going that route down the road, that's something that I've been thinking about. I know we're on this wall where the window is at. I want to do, you choose like a color palette, right? And maybe 2 colors, but you can do like a kind of a contrasted look to it where like a very vibrant color is up front and then it gets lighter as it goes back. So you're creating depth. I don't know, maybe a mountain range or a forest or a cityscape. And I'd have my artist Zach Raw do that for me. So maybe something there. And then I can shoot video where I'm facing towards the window and you get to see that in the background. So there's just so many options that I'm excited about testing out in this room. I gotta get it to where I want it to be, but it's getting closer and closer. I did get a curtain from that, or I got a pair of gray ones. I thought it would complement the room, and then it said they were blackout and they weren't, so I took that back. I got a different one. I got a black one from Target here, and they only had the one. Went to the other Target, they didn't have any. They said they had 2, so now I got to order it. So it doesn't actually black out all the light, so I just have another thing hanging over for it for right now until I can get that in. So that's the next thing that I get to get in. But having worked towards this for 3 years now, it's just so cool to see it come to life. And it's just, the payout has been really, really great with this. And that's really a big thank you to everybody that watches the videos at all, because if nobody was watching them, I couldn't do any of this. So all the money that I make off YouTube, I literally put right back into the channel. I'm not spending on anything outside of this channel, and then still pouring in my own money so that I can do cool stuff like this. But something like this, even though it seems like, oh, that would have been way expensive, it's not crazy expensive. You get 50 of the 3D wall panels for like 50 bucks. And that price can fluctuate. Maybe it's 60, maybe it's 45. The Govee light thing was like 20 to 25 bucks, I think. Maybe 30 at most. 2x4s was a little bit more expensive, but I only used 2. And then the sheet of wood I had. The previous homeowner left it, so I didn't have to buy that. A sheet of wood can cost $30. So let's say this whole thing costs $100, $120. For what I get out of it, that's not crazy expensive, and it looks great. In my opinion, some people may be like, I would never do that, right? But I think this was definitely well worth it, especially for what I want to do. And one of the snags that we ran into is I wanted to raise this, because originally the way we had this laid out, this was going to be lower. But I wanted it so that the bottom, and you can't really see it in the camera, but the bottom of the panels is just a little bit below the lip of the desk. so that light illuminates underneath here. Like I said, I'm going to make sure B-roll pops up, showcases this at different angles so you guys get to see all the different cool stuff that this can do without these lights here that are on me drowning it out. But I'll make sure a link for all the products that I've used in this video are in the description. If there's something that I haven't answered with this video, just because this isn't really a review, but you want to know, let me know in the comment section. I'll make sure I answer that for you there. Cool thing with the 3D panels also, that's not the only option that they have. There's a bunch of different versions of this with different looks. So maybe as you kind of look through all those, you find something that fits your style or the look that you're going for a lot better than these do. So 3M tape on the back of those, I will have that in the description as well. Learned my lesson on the first house. I mentioned that I put huge strips on the panels on the old house, and it ripped huge chunks of the drywall out. I mean, like, I had to patch that wall up because it looked horrible. And I mean like big chunks, because I put way too much, because it's like, I can't remember what weight it's rated for, but it's a lot. So little strips, but it also makes it that pulling off the backing to that is really tedious and really hard to do, and you kind of tear up your fingernails doing that. But learned my lesson with that. It was time consuming, but once it's done, it's good, it's set. I don't have to mess with it. These will never fall off. Like, they are solid with this. And creating that 1 3/4 lip on this was something that, calculating that out, making sure that that was correct, was another tedious thing that Wes was able to make sure that everything was correct, so that this wasn't off-centered, or it was like 1 3/4 on one side and then not on the other side, right? So I'm so glad that he helped me with this. But thank you guys so much for watching. I mean, hopefully this was entertaining. I like all those home shows where they show you and they like flip a house and stuff like that. So not that this is flipping a house or anything like that, but I wanted to showcase a little bit of the process because I think that's fascinating. And I love watching anything that covers that, especially when you get to see it done really quick, where it's not something that you have to wait for, where it's months and months and months, right? You get to see it all done really quick. So that's going to be it for this video. I'm going to make sure all these links are in the description for you guys, so you can find those products there. If you like the video, hit the like button for me. If you want to continue to follow along with all my content, hit the subscribe button for me. Thanks so much for watching.